Since it's October and Halloween is just around the corner, I thought it would be, I guess I can't really say fun because it's murder and disappearances, but fitting, I guess you could say, to tell some Halloween true crime stories. So the first story is not only a Halloween unsolved murder, but has ties to an infamous serial killer. This is the unsolved murders of Ronald Seisman and Elizabeth Plattsman. On Halloween night, 1981, 39-year-old photographer Ronald Seisman and Smith College student Elizabeth Plattsman were murdered in their Chelsea, New York apartment on West 22nd Street near Greenwich Village. Seisman lived in a duplex apartment on the third floor of a building where he ran two businesses from home. Reportedly, the couple were severely and savagely beaten before being shot execution-style in the head. Allegedly, Ron was shot 4 times while Elizabeth was shot 3. According to sources, police on the scene said the apartment was completely trashed. The furniture was shredded and completely torn to pieces, and there was not one drawer in the place that had not been completely gone through, and that you could not even walk anywhere without stepping on something. To police, it seemed obvious that whoever had killed the couple and trashed the apartment was looking for something. But the only known things taken that night were the couple's IDs and Seisman's pistol. Moreover, it has been speculated that the couple knew the killer or killers since there was no forced entry. I'm just going to add here that it was Halloween, so it is possible they could have opened the door thinking it was trick-or-treaters. Aside from this, police had absolutely no evidence to go on, and the case remains unsolved to this day. The couple wasn't really what you would call squeaky clean though, well at least not for Seisman. Allegedly, there had been some claims that Seisman had been involved in drugs, but nothing that could be proved. I have seen some accounts of police finding large amounts of drugs in the apartment, but since there is not too much information out there about these murders, it's hard to corroborate. Nevertheless, allegedly police determined that the drugs were not the motive because whoever was looking for something couldn't have been drugs because they didn't take them. Seisman also had a spotty past. Allegedly, an actress named Melanie Haller had just the previous year accused him of trying to force her to take drugs. But the charges against Seisman were dropped eventually because Melanie did not cooperate with authorities. And she had also made an accusation against a film producer in Long Island. In that case too, she also said that he had attempted to drug her, and those charges were also dropped. Police, however, did discern that the drug accusations and the murders were not connected. Beyond this, the investigation hit a dead end, until someone reached out to police with a wild story. So this totally bizarre twist started when an informant contacted police, telling them that someone he knew, a fellow inmate, had predicted these murders weeks before they happened. Just who might this person be, you wonder? None other than serial killer David Berkowitz, or the son of Sam Killer, or the .44 caliber killer. And if by some chance you don't know who David Berkowitz is, well, he is a serial killer who was active in the 70s in New York City. Using a .44 special caliber bulldog revolver, he killed 6 people and wounded 7 others by July of 1977. He was also implicated in approximately 1,000 arsons in the city. Berkowitz claimed his neighbor's dog was possessed by a demon, Sam, and was telling him to kill. But once he was in prison, though, he finally did admit that the demon-possessed dog's story was a load of crap and that he killed because he wanted to. Berkowitz was sentenced to 6 consecutive life sentences in state prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years, which, thankfully, his parole has been denied several times. During the mid-1990s, Berkowitz claimed that he had converted to an evangelical Christian. He amended his confession and claimed that he had joined a violent satanic cult in the spring of 1975, and it was this cult that had orchestrated the murders that he was sentenced for, and they were ritual murders. He also claimed that he was not the only person present at the murders, and that he himself had only killed 3 of the Son of Sam victims. He said that there were other shooters involved and that he fired the gun only in the first attack and the 6th attack. He said that he and several other cult members were involved in every incident by planning the events, providing early surveillance of the victims, and acting as lookouts and drivers at the crime scenes. Anyway, a new investigation of the murders did begin in 1996, but it was suspended indefinitely after inconclusive findings. But nonetheless, the case does still remain open. There are several people, even police officials, that assert that they doubted right from the very beginning that the Son of Sam murders were the act of one sole shooter. So back to the murders of Ron Seisman and Elizabeth Plattsman. So like I said, the informant said that David Berkowitz knew that these murders were going to happen before they happened. The informant told police that a couple of weeks before the murder, Berkowitz had told him that his cult was going to torture and perform a ritual killing on Halloween. He described it as a photographer's residence near Greenwich Village, where after the ritual they would kill the occupants and clean the residence of any incriminating evidence against the cult. Allegedly, Berkowitz also elaborated that Seisman had a snuff video of one of the Son of Sam killings, one that would shed light on the cult and make people rethink that Berkowitz acted alone. Apparently, Seisman had been hired by the cult to record a video, but they hadn't told him what the film was about beforehand, so after it was finished, Seisman didn't seem happy at what he had just been a part of. The cult then heard rumors that Seisman was in trouble for drug dealings and that he might use this video as leverage to get a deal. Anyways, police went and talked to David Berkowitz, and they were shocked to find that he could eerily describe the entire apartment in perfect detail. But police were unable to find any evidence that supported Berkowitz's claims, so no further action could be taken against him and his alleged cult. According to some sources, though, one fact from the scene that could go a long way in supporting Berkowitz's claim is the fact that their licenses were stolen. Allegedly, this has happened in other cult killings where they take personal identifying objects to prove that they got the right person. Interestingly, in The Sons of Sam, A Descent into Darkness, which is a 4-part documentary series from Netflix that chronicles Maury Terry's research into the Son of Sam killings, alleges that the death of Ron Seisman was actually, in fact, connected to this cult. Maury alleges that this was the murder of Stacy Moskowitz, Son of Sam's last victim, that this was captured on film, and that Ron Seisman was the one that recorded the murder from a distance. On this documentary, it is stated that there was another informant who contacted Maury, claiming that he was a part of this cult. Allegedly, this cult member confirmed Berkowitz's claims and said that Seisman and his girlfriend were murdered by the cult and that they had ransacked their house looking for the snuff film. In a 1997 interview with Maury, Berkowitz also mentioned something similar. Allegedly, he talked about the presence of another van at the time the shooting took place. When Maury asked him whether Seisman was the one recording it, he said that Seisman did want to do some filming that night. Beyond that, Berkowitz was vague and did not divulge any new information. Whether or not there is any truth to the Son of Sam cult claims or not, there has never been any concrete proof that backed up these theories, and the murders of Ronald Seisman and Elizabeth Plattsman, unfortunately, remain unsolved to this day. The next Halloween story is the disappearance of Cindy Song. Cindy Song was a 21-year-old college student attending State College in Pennsylvania. On Halloween night 2001, Cindy went to a costume party at Players Nightclub with 2 close friends, Stacy Paik and Lisa Kim. She was dressed as a Playboy bunny. All 3 partied until 2 a.m., and then they decided to leave the club and stop at a friend's house to play video games. By 4 a.m., the girls were ready to call it a night, and Cindy's friends dropped her off outside of the State College Park Apartments on Clinton Avenue. Cindy Song was never seen again. Born on February 25, 1980, Cindy grew up in South Korea until she moved to Virginia in 1995 to live with her aunt and uncle and to attend high school. After graduating, she went to Pennsylvania State University. She was majoring in Integrative Arts, which is a course that combines engineering, communications, and science, and her real name was Hwang Jung Sung, but everybody called her Cindy. On November the 1st, Cindy's roommate returned from visiting family, and wasn't really that concerned about Cindy not being home. After all, the door was locked and nothing seemed to be out of place. After 3 days of no contact, though, Cindy's friends became concerned, and they called the police on November the 4th. A search of Cindy's apartment found no signs of a struggle or forced entry. The false eyelashes that she had worn to the party Halloween night were there, along with her backpack and cell phone, meaning that she had at least been inside and dropped those things off. The only things that were missing were Cindy's keys and her purse that contained her driver's license and her credit cards. According to Cindy's friend, she never went anywhere without her cell phone, so that is definitely odd. Police believe that she was still wearing her Playboy bunny costume when she vanished because they didn't find it in her apartment. Police searched Cindy's phone and found that she had not made or received any calls after she was dropped off. Police also found no activity on any of her credit cards. They also read her emails and confirmed there was no suspicious activity there either. Police and volunteers searched a wooded area near the Penn State University campus. However, no trace of Cindy has ever been found. Authorities don't believe that Cindy ran off on her own. 2 Britney Spears concert tickets were found in her apartment, and a printout for a computer that was due to be received on November the 6th were still there. Police also investigated the possibility that her disappearance was drug-related. Apparently, they had found some diary entries indicating that she and her friends were experimenting with marijuana and ecstasy. However, there is no evidence that she used drugs on the night of her disappearance, and the drug theory was eventually discarded. Moreover, Cindy's friends don't believe that she was the type of person to just disappear, even though her family thought it was possible that she was depressed or even suicidal because she had just recently broke up with her boyfriend a month before. But her friends insisted that she was handling the breakup well and that she was not depressed. They said that she was happy and upbeat on the night that she vanished. Cindy's friends told police that she was known to go to her local 24-hour supermarket at all hours when she needed something, so police think it is possible that Cindy left her apartment to go to this store and that she was abducted there or on the way there. Police did try to get the video surveillance from the store, but by the time they went looking for the footage from that night, it had already been recorded over, as the store only kept their footage for a certain amount of time, and police didn't even get notified until 3 days after her disappearance. Another theory was that Cindy left her apartment with someone that she knew and was killed by them. Brian Sprinkle, a detective on Cindy's case, said, quote, "We have no body, we have no crime scene, and we have no actual crime. So it's been very frustrating without any of those pieces of the puzzle, and because of that, it seems like she vanished into thin air." Then something strange happened. A few days after Cindy disappeared, a woman matching her description was seen being forced into a car in the Chinatown district of Philadelphia, which was about 200 miles from her apartment. Allegedly, the girl was screaming and crying for help. The possible suspect was wanted for questioning and was described as an Asian with olive to light brown complexion and medium-length hair. He has never been identified. However, by 2003, investigators stated that they no longer believed the woman calling for help in Philadelphia was Cindy. The witness had proved to be unreliable, changing the details of her story multiple times. Also in 2003, police possibly connected Cindy's disappearance to a bank robber and suspected serial killer named Hugo Selinski. An informant named Paul Weekly had told police that his friend Selinski and an accomplice, Michael Kurkowski, had abducted and killed a woman from State College that matched Cindy's description. This informant did, in fact, lead police to the location of 5 bodies on Selinski's property. However, DNA testing proved that none of these remains were Cindy's, and that one of these bodies was actually that of Kurkowski. Selinski eventually did confess to the murder of Cindy Song, agreeing with Weekly's story. He said that he and Kurkowski had seen Cindy walking in those early morning hours of November the 1st, 2001, and they mistook her for a prostitute and kidnapped her. He said that they kept her in a walk-in safe in his home until she died, and then they buried her body somewhere in Luzerne County, Pennsylvania. Allegedly, Selinski told investigators that Kurkowski was the one who killed Cindy. But of course, with Kurkowski dead, he is not here to corroborate, so who knows? And unfortunately, police were unable to prove Selinski's involvement in Sydney's kidnapping, and he was never charged. He is still, though, considered a suspect, but now his lawyers refute that he had any knowledge of Cindy Song, providing witness statements that prove that he was hundreds of miles from the assumed site of Cindy's abduction. Surprisingly, in 2006, Selinski was acquitted of the murders of 2 drug dealers who were found on his property. He was, however, convicted of abusing their bodies. In January of 2014, authorities announced that the badly destroyed remains of 7 other people were found on Selensky's property. They have looked into the possibility that one of the sets belonged to Cindy, however, she has not yet been linked to them. Finally, in 2015, Selensky was convicted of the murders of Krakowski and his girlfriend Tammy Fassett, who were also found on his property, and he was sentenced to life in prison. So the informant, Paul Weekly, was actually a co-defendant of Selensky's. He is serving a life sentence for confessing to being Selensky's accomplice in the murder of Krakowski and his girlfriend Tammy Fassett. Despite all the information he did provide about bodies on Selensky's property, Weekly's story did seem to fall apart a bit. Weekly said that Selensky murdered Krakowski and his girlfriend because he had kept Cindy's bunny ears as a souvenir of the murder, which angered Selensky. But eventually the true motive did come out. The killing was actually motivated by money, $60,000 that Krakowski had hidden in his house. Weekly received a cut of the money for tipping Selensky off about the stash. So investigators soon turned their attention towards Weekly. A search of his computer found that he had downloaded numerous articles about Cindy, and police reasoned that he could have been studying the details of her murder in order to offer false evidence to the police in exchange for a reduced sentence. A more chilling theory also arose, though. Perhaps Weekly was the actual murderer, keeping press clippings as a souvenir and using his knowledge of Selensky's mass graveyard as a convenient red herring for his own actions. Nevertheless, without any evidence, Weekly's involvement in the murder of Cindy was also discounted. So as the case stands, everybody close to Cindy has been ruled out as a suspect. The sighting in Philadelphia has long been discounted, as have suggestions that Cindy took her own life or ran away. And the possible suspects, Selensky and Krakowski, cannot be definitively linked to Cindy. So what really did happen to Cindy Song that Halloween night? It seems Cindy left her apartment voluntarily, locking the door from the outside. Did she leave with someone that she knew? Or did she get abducted after leaving? It's truly a mystery. In the aftermath of Cindy's disappearance, her family traveled to the United States from Korea in search of answers. I don't know how things like this happen, but her family was allowed access to her apartment and cleaned it up, possibly destroying evidence in the process. Minority groups on the Penn State College campus criticized both law enforcement and university officials for the lack of progress in Cindy's case. But authorities came back and stated that they have investigated every single lead in her disappearance, but there is minimal evidence. Cindy's family quickly formed an action group with Penn State students and various community groups, called the Coalition for the Search of Cindy Song. On January 31st, 3 months after her disappearance, the coalition held a press conference in which they fiercely criticized the police department for not doing enough to solve Cindy's case. Seeming to retaliate, the police stopped contacting the family. A decision lead investigator, Detective Brian Sprinkle, claimed was done, quote, for Cindy's sake in the case and not the family, adding that we pretty much cut them off. And from what I can gather, this is pretty much where the case sits. We do not know what happened to Cindy Song the night she disappeared. Cindy was described as 5 foot 1 inches tall and weighing approximately 110 pounds. She is a South Korean female with long black hair and brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a white tennis skirt, pink t-shirt with a bunny logo, brown knee-high boots, and a red hooded parka. She has pierced ears and a pierced navel. Cindy's disappearance was featured twice on Unsolved Mysteries, first on Season 12 with Robert Stack and in Season 2 with Dennis Farina. If you have any information about Cindy Song, please contact the Ferguson Township Police Department at 1-814-237-1172. Thank you so much for your support. Until the next time, please stay safe out there.